Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of That Tutorials and More. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any of our new videos. And check the video description for a link to the That mobile learning library app. Inside of our new app, you are able to access all of our free tutorials in our neatly organized content libraries and have the option to subscribe for access to exclusive content and communities, including the Affinity Designer and Photo Masterclasses. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to sublimate this MDF ornament-shaped ornament. Now, this particular design is a tutorial that is also available for free on our YouTube channel and inside of our app. And what we did was we used the ornament that was illustrated as part of the Affinity Masterclass. So if you've taken that class, then you likely have an ornament of your own. Now, these specific cutouts are from Single J Sublimation, and they match my specific ornament, the clip art elements that are available on my Of Love and Shiplap website. So be sure to check out the design tutorial to just kind of see how that works and how you can take one of those and create the look that you are looking for. I went ahead and used a clip art element of Mary, Jesus, and Joseph for this particular project, but you could do this with any type of photograph, any type of clip art element. The idea is that this is really versatile with the different color ornaments and things like that. So these ornament shaped cutouts come in two versions. We have the no bow and we also have the bow. I personally love the bow, but I also like this with like a physical bow if you wanted to do something like that. So let's go ahead. We always want to double check our measurements. And so we'll do that and we will get this set up in Affinity Designer and print off our transfer and press it. Here we have the MDF ornament shaped cutout that is 3 inches and is perfect for a Christmas tree ornament. I have both the version that aligns with the clip art that has the bow and the one that does not. These are also available in larger sizes for the use of door hangers. And I actually did a video on those previously, so be sure to check out the one that I did of that if you're planning on trying out that project. We always want to get our measurements no matter what the product is, even if we have some type of template that we're following and so on. We want to get our maximum height and our maximum width so that we can size our clip art element accordingly and make sure it is accurate when we print it off. You will always notice that MDF should have some type of film. The film isn't always printed, but if you see this like dark edge, that's a clear indication that there's a film. That film is just there to protect the MDF from the laser, doesn't impact the product at all. All you do is peel that off when you're ready to sublimate. So let's go ahead and get those measurements. Now these are stated at 3 inches. In an ideal world, they are 3 inches, but we will see. So we have, you can see right there, we are at 3 3/4 for the height. And we're gonna get as close as we can across the middle, and we are at 3 inches for the width. So we've got width, 3 inches, and height. You should be able to auto adjust just one size for the record if everything is done proportionately, but I always measure and double check anyways. What did we say? 3 3/4. Now, because these two elements are the same, I'm actually just going to line these up. And as long as everything matches, which they do, you can see there's no extra overlap aside from the bow, I can use the same measurements for both. That is how this should be because this was designed based on a clip art element that I created. Again, you can grab that clip art element on my Of Love and Shiplap digital design website. Let's go ahead and hop over into Affinity Designer and set up our designs to print. We are going to set up our ornament design to print in Affinity Designer. I'm working on a Windows PC, but it's the same steps whether you're working on version 1, version 2, Windows, Mac, etc. Your interface might just look a little bit different. If you're new, be sure to check some of our Basics for Beginners videos available in the That mobile learning library app so that you can get a feel for how to customize your interface and help it match mine. My interface has been the same in pretty much every single tutorial for the last 5 years. And so anytime you're following along, it does tend to be a little bit easier if your studio is laid out like mine. We're going to start by opening up a new document, and we want that document to be set to the size and orientation of the page we will be printing on. Because these are small, I'm going to be printing on just a standard letter size page with the Epson SureColor F570 Pro using the Auto Sheet Feeder option. Come to File and then New or New Document. You can select Letter from the Print Ready or Press Ready section of the Document Setup panel. Keep in mind that the version 2 document setup panel does look a little bit different than the version 1, but you should be able to follow along just the same. Underneath the color tab, you want to make sure that your color format is RGB/8 and your color profile is sRGB IEC 61966-2.1. This is the most current color profile for this color format. If you are using a Mac, you may need to select the Adobe RGB 1998 setting from the dropdown. This only applies to Mac, doesn't apply to Windows. It is because Mac tends to have color discrepancy issues and it works better with the older profile. These settings right here in Document Setup are universal. This is nothing to do with your ICC profile for your particular ink converted printer option that you have. So just keep that in mind. This is universal. When you set up for design, you always use this option when you are creating. When you set up for print, you're using this option except for the adjustment for Mac. Two different things. And anything that has to do with your ICC profile is selected in your printer properties panel on printing. This step is important because people who adjust this profile incorrectly end up with all kinds of color issues, and that leads to frustration. So don't let that be you. Follow our videos accordingly. Okay, once you have everything set, click Create. All we need to do is import the designs that we made using that clip art element that matches the MDF ornament shaped cutout ornaments. We can do this by selecting our Place Image tool or coming to File and then Place. Now I'm going to be printing both of these, so I am going to select them both by holding down the Controller Command key and then selecting Open. When you see the downward arrow with the portal, you can click and drag to size that on your canvas. I'm going to size it pretty big and then I'll just size it down afterwards. Anytime you import something like this, you want to look out for space between the element itself and the boundary box. Your measurements are always based on that boundary box, so this can be very problematic for that reason. All you have to do is rasterize this and it will get rid of all that negative space that is around your design. This is true of anything that you bring in. Before you rasterize, make sure that you do have this at the largest size that you might possibly need, because once you rasterize it, you're going to lock in that new size and resolution, and you won't be able to increase this up to 18 inches from this particular element. You would have to import it again. So I'm going to go ahead and right click in my layers panel and select rasterize. Now you'll see, if we zoom in again, that boundary box is gone. I'm going to do the same thing with the one below so that it is ready to go. Now I've clicked the one on top again. Sorry, I'm just zooming in and out on you guys. I've clicked the one that's on top again. I'm going to come to the transform panel and I want to adjust the measurements. Make sure that you do have this aspect ratio locked. All you have to do is click on it. When you see the two arms, that means that it is locked. I'm going to focus on the width. The width was 3 inches, so I'm going to select that. Now our height was 3 3/4 approximately, and as we can see, it's right about there, so that's perfect. We'll do the same with the other one. And both of those are resized accordingly. Before we print this, I want to add a little bit of a border to this. And this is something that often trips people up with cutouts and the templates that are designed to fit with the cutout of a clip art already, like this one is. This does not naturally have a bleed line created with it, but you do want a little bit of a bleed line so that you can make sure you actually have full coverage on your MDF cutout. Without that bleed line, if you were off by just the tiniest little bit, you are going to end up having a little white line, even if it's a sliver, and that totally degrades the quality of your product. So here is the trick for you. Now it does need to be rasterized, so we already did that step, but we're going to select
our ornament and we're going to come down to the layer effects option. It could be the effects tab or quick FX, but it's always the FX at the bottom of the layers panel. You're going to come to where it says outline and you're going to check mark that box. Where it says fill style, we're going to apply a gradient, but first let's add the radius. So select your radius and simply extend that out. It doesn't need to be a lot, but definitely enough that it gives you, you know, a little bit of an edge that will be forgiving if you're not perfectly lined up. So I just did like 16.4. We could go a little bit more if you wanted. You could do like 20 pixels on something that's this small. Okay, so we've got our alignment on the outside and our fill style is going to be gradient. Now we're going to click on this gradient box and we are going to match this to the colors on the outer edge. So I'm going to select this black one, the stop point that we have here, the circle. I'm going to click the color box. I'm going to grab that dropper. I'm going to drag it drop to the edge of my ornament, get the blue. And then I'm going to select the white one and same thing, but this time I'm going to drag it up to the silver. Now, if you have something that has a bunch of colors, this is not obviously as effective, but most people who do digital design work are aware that you're going to use things this way, and they do try and create edges that are a little bit more forgiving, or at least make the design so that it can be sized a little bit. If it's like a door hanger design, I always leave a lot of room around the border to make it just a little bit bigger. But with something like this, it is actually designed to fit a specific template. So we'll just click that little dot there to apply the silver. That kind of seems like a dark silver, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. It'll be fine. Okay. Now our gradient is going horizontal at the moment. We don't want that. We want this to go up and down. So I'm going to select this little circle here and adjust it so it's up and down. Then I'm going to come back to that gradient box, and this is where we can tweak it so that it lines up better with our ornament. So I don't really need the gray or the silver to come all the way down into here. I really want it to stop up here. So we can move this little line here so that that moves up. I also don't really need it to transition. I actually need it to just like stop. So I'm going to click on the line to create another stop point. And then with this line, I'm going to move all the way up to there. And with this line, I'm going to move it all the way down to here. So see how this creates like a harsh line? And then we have a harsh line here. Let's zoom in so you can see this just a little bit better. So see how we have our blue and then it gets like a harsh line and goes up into the silver. We can actually adjust this just a little bit more. We'll move that just a bit. Oh, a little too far. Okay. Now I do actually think that that's gray is a little too dark. So I'm going to select that circle again, choose my color, and I'm going to try and go for a lighter gray. Yes, since it's magnified, I could actually get that outer line much better. You're really just kind of splitting the difference, but this is just to give you some forgiving zones. You know, that's the main thing that you're looking for with all of this. So when we have this set up, that's perfect. You can go ahead and click close. So now this one is ready to print, but we still need the same thing to happen on this one. So what we can actually do is if you're using version 2 of Affinity Designer, you can click on that FX and you can literally drag it to the other layer and it will apply that. And then we can just come over here and tweak it as we need. Because this one doesn't have a bow, we can actually bring that gradient up a little bit. So we'll click on the FX on that layer and we will adjust that little stop point so it's a little bit further up. There we go. See? So that is a cool feature of version 2 is that you can just like click and drag your effects to all different layers. I love that function. The last thing that we want to do before we print this is just rasterize these. I always do this if I have added any kind of effects or like a live perspective warp or anything like that, because not always do things actually print the way that you want them to. Like if you use the warp text or the live pixel warp function, you have to rasterize after. If you don't, it doesn't actually print in the shape. So because we did this, I'm going to select that layer. I'm going to right click and rasterize. Where it says preserve layer effect, I'm going to deselect and then rasterize. and then do the same thing with the other one. Okay. All we need to do is just align this however we would like on our page, and we are ready to print. Now, if you wanted to add in more things to print on here, you can by simply selecting that place image tool and continuing to fill the page. If you have empty space on your page and you have nothing to fill, you can always save that page for nozzle check paper. That's what I do. So I always try and put things more towards the top whenever I can so that I have that option. If it's bigger and there's not going to be enough paper left because you need a half sheet, then I won't do that. Next, we'll go to send this to print by File and Print. You're going to select your printer from the drop-down menu. We're using our Epson SureColor F570 series. Then you will click on Properties or Settings, and this is where you will set any color correction settings you have for your printer. Any ICC profiles, anything like that is selected here. The Epson SureColor F570 Pro printer is absolutely flawless and seamless. You do not have to give a second thought about anything, which is amazing. It's so smooth operating. So all we're going to do is make sure that our page size is correct, come to our source and make sure we have auto sheet feeder selected. We have this set to rigid, fantastic. You can always click acquire info to make sure the printer has this in line. Now, we do want to have mirror image on. It should be selected by default, but always make sure that you do have mirror image on for most substrates. And now that I'm all set, I can click OK and then OK again to send this off to print.
Anytime I'm trying to line up an MDF cutout or really anything that is really hard to see and make sure you got it perfect, I love this light up tracing thing. Not everyone loves this. I am definitely not saying run out and buy this because you have to have it, but I did get this off of Amazon. It is like super B size, so it's pretty big, which is fantastic. But what I like is, you know, you can see your design and you can better line up everything. It's not bad when you put it down as well, but I tend to just hold mine up and I like that better. So before we line that, we do need to take off the protective film. You should be able to just kind of dig your nail on the edge or maybe use some tweezers or even like a box cutter to pull it up. I've seen people do it. I'm just not very successful at it. Where they put a piece of heat tape and then give it a good rub and then pull it back. It only works for me once in a while. So if you get it to work, congratulations. That's another option. I'm just going to use box cutter. So always make sure that anytime you're trying to pull something off of a sublimation blank, you don't want to scratch the coating. So what you want to do is make sure that you are parallel to your object. And that way you can just sort of nudge it right along the edge. There we go. Without scratching the coating. And voila. Oops. Go ahead and do our other one as well. Again, make sure that you're parallel like this so that you're not digging in. Your goal is not to dig in. Your goal is just to get enough of a little lip that you can peel it off. Okay. All we're going to need is a few pieces of heat tape to secure everything once we line it up. So I'm really paying attention to where that outline is that we added and looking for that. Like, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I don't think you can, but I can see like the edge of my bow was right there. So I just shifted it over. Okay, it looks like we're pretty good. If I put a little bit on here, you guys might be able to see it better. Yeah, I think we're about right. I kind of need to look at it closer myself, just to be sure. Remember that taking a few extra seconds to double check everything will only make everything about your process go smoother. Okay. So once you're sure that you have it, I'm going to hold it really tight, flip it over,
This will also give us a chance to check again, make sure we don't see some part of our design like hanging off the edge, because that would indicate that we're not lined up very well. Looks like we're lined up perfectly. So we're going to take some heat tape. I'm trying not to shift this too much, but I'm going to put a little heat tape right on the edge there. Use my fingernail to sort of rub it along so it secures it nicely. Do the same thing on the other side. You don't need a lot. Just enough to make sure that when you transfer it onto the heat press, it doesn't end up shifting. And if you happen to have moved it quite a few times like I did, this is always a good time to, once again, just triple check to make sure everything is lined up just as you want it. I'm actually going to adjust this just a hair. The smallest of hairs. Okay. And then hold down that tape. And this one is ready. So we'll set that out of the way and then do our second one. Same thing. Transfer facing to the white side. Using our little thing here to give us a good visual if we are actually lined up properly. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit harder for me to see through the camera. All right, carefully flip it over, double check, see if we see any edge. A little bit. I'm going to nudge it down just a hair. Other than that, okay, I think we're good to apply some tape. So I'm going to hold it tight. And one piece of tape, rub it along that edge. Oops. Got prematurely stuck to the paper. It's not what we wanted. Try that again. And then our other piece of tape. It is definitely better to like set it down flat. I just don't want it to be off the camera for you guys. This tracing tablet is quite large. Okay. One more check. I always like triple check when I'm doing something like this because again, I don't want to waste a blank. You don't either. Due diligence is helpful. Okay, that one is ready to press. So let's head over to Blue the Fusion IQ. We are going to be pressing our MDF ornament cutouts at 400 degrees for 60 seconds with medium firm pressure. So I already have everything set to go on Blue the Fusion IQ. Because we do have that border, we want to make sure that we have blowout paper on the bottom and on the top. So we're doing this the traditional way for most products, which is that our transfer is on top facing down, our substrate is facing up. We'll go ahead and fold this in half and slide that on back. Ooh, we're not quite firm enough. There we go. It wasn't quite tightened enough, so we had to fix that. So this takes just about 60 seconds. MDF is very forgiving. As long as you have enough pressure, you are likely to get outstanding results every time. I love the array of MDF products, and we've done quite a few tutorials on different ones. One of my favorites is the phone stand. I have that in my bedroom. I love it. I keep my Kindle on it, my Apple Watch, my AirPods. Yeah, that's really it. Those are the only things that need to be on it. But that one is one of the tutorials that we've done. We've done like door hangers. We've done a coat hook. I'm not even sure what else, but I do know that I have a lot of different MDF related blanks. So laser cutters, definitely stay busy coming up with fun new products that you can put together. I've seen everything from Christmas countdown signs to penny hole boards and in between. All right, we'll go ahead and pop these up. They're going to be very hot. Ouch. If it'll let me pull it off. It's a little finicky there. Okay, so let's get that in my hand. There is one Oh, it looks so pretty. Very nice. And you can see we had no problems with our edge. Adding that little border just gave us a little extra security. Same with this one, also looks fantastic. Absolutely beautiful. So we can let these cool and then they're ready to put ribbon in and box up. For this one, I'm actually gonna add just a little tiny bow, just to kind of bring it out. This is for my aunt. She did not want the digital bow, she wanted the physical bow. So I will be setting that up before I send this off to her as a gift. Now, be sure that if you are subscribed to the Sub That mobile learning app, that you check out the marketing guide for this product. This is designed to help you understand how to sell every product we do a tutorial on, to give you ideas, keywords, product description, all of those things. This is something new that we're adding going into 2024, and it's available exclusively inside of the Sub That US mobile learning library app. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great rest of your day.